Hey Pilates people, welcome to your beginner reformer flow. I have 2 medium springs, or 2 medium and 1 heavy spring on. Please feel free to go heavier or lighter if you need. We're gonna get started with some footwork, so go ahead and lie back on your carriage. When you're here, I want you to find yourself centered, so run your hands up and down the mat along your sides. Maybe turn your head from right to left, or just feel that there's even spacing between your neck and the shoulder blocks. Find all 10 toes on the foot bar, and let's go parallel for today. All right, so just in this hip socket distance apart, like the size of a large grapefruit. I'm gonna feel the arms stretch down and into the mat. I'm gonna take a big breath into those ribs, and then as I exhale, I'm gonna keep the carriage in, but draw my belly and the low back down into the mat, and then inhale, rock the pelvis away. As I exhale, I draw my belly down, my pubic bone tilts back, and then inhale, rock the pelvis away. So we're just starting with some gentle pelvic rocking. And then as you do this, I want you to try to keep everything else still. So a lot of times our shoulders want to roll in, our ribs want to move all around, like mine may have been moving, right? And just focus it just to the pelvis. And you might find that it's a lot harder than you think, especially if you're tight in some places. And so you're just rocking back and forth from your natural neutral to your imprint. Imprint is that low back into the mat, natural. Neutral is that little arch in the small of your back. And then just from here, you can continue doing that, or you can just kind of roll the pelvis around. I think this feels pretty magical. Just to loosen things up. All right, so settle into your natural neutral. Feel that length out through the crown of the head, the anchoring down through the palms, and even the upper arm bones into the mat. Lift the heels up maybe just halfway, right? So think like little kitten heels. Exhale out all of your breath, and then inhale, press the carriage out just halfway and pause, and then bring the carriage in. We're just gonna go halfway out and in. Now, when we do these half in and outs, I want you to see if your pelvis has shifted. All right, so a lot of times when we press it out, we kind of tuck under, the low back presses into the mat. We're trying to keep a stable pelvis as we go out and in. And I've heard a teacher say, use your butt cheeks as brakes. So as I coming in, I'm thinking about my butt creases kicking on. We have 2 and 1. Now we're gonna press it all the way out. So go all the way out and just pause here. Once again, find your long line, finds that softening of the ribs into the mat, the lengthening of the tailbone, and then bends the knees, come all the way home. So a few more times here. And as you're moving the carriage in and out, I want you to think about how that mat feels to your back, right? It should feel the same when the carriage is in as when the carriage is out. And whether you feel your stomach working or not, it is, because it's holding that spine stable. We have 3 and 2 and 1. Go ahead and pull it all the way in. From here, let's come on to the arches. Still in that hip socket distance apart. So thighs should look like a number 11. Equally wrap the toes and heels around. So the toes are not the only thing reaching around, it's the heels reaching down and under as well. From here, we find that natural neutral. We hold it, we press the carriage out just halfway, and then back in. We go out halfway and back in. And once again, this is just your way of establishing that neutral pelvis. Just feeling what muscles in the hips need to work. And if you're feeling good with this one, right, let's go all the way out. We go all the way out, and then resist as you pull the carriage all the way in. And I know I cued the breath, inhale out, exhale in the beginning, but please, just as long as you're breathing, and then we can work on breath at a later date. And once you feel like you've got a pretty good handle on that stable pelvis and spine, maybe shift your focus to your legs, right? Is there equal weight between both legs right now? So a lot of times, right, that dominant side wants to kick on. I love to talk with my hands, don't I? I can't keep them down into the mat. Let's do 3 and 2 and 1. Go ahead and drag it all the way in. Let's come onto the heels. Still in that hip socket distance apart. I'm going to pull all 10 toes back to my shins. Again, feel your tailbone stretch further away, but also anchored down. From here, we go out halfway and then back in. Just halfway and back in. The chest is rolling open. The neck is long. You have 3 and 2 and 1. You go all the way out. Again, find your long line. Feel like your legs are getting longer, and then resist to come all the way in. And then the resist home is you pulling the carriage home. So if you think about doing a hamstring curl, right, or just a pull home, you are pulling yourself home. A lot of times it's easy to rely on the springs. And once again, you've got equal weight, not only into your legs, right, between right and left, but across the bottom of your heel. Let's do 3 and 2. Check back in with that pelvis. And last one here. Come all the way in. Even mine was starting to shift. Let's come back down to that first position. So every toe pad is on. The big toes might feel like they're a little bit more on top of the foot bar here to get the pinky toe connected. Go ahead and press it all the way out to straight legs. The legs are going to stay straight. Just lower the thighs down first, then push your heels under. Pause here. Think of actively flexing your heels or your feet to get a deeper stretch, and then lift the heels up. So we're working in both directions. I'm flexing my feet as I push the heels under, and then I point the toes to lift the heels up. And hopefully you will feel some lower leg bone action, right? Maybe tops of the shins, back of the calves. And once you feel like you've got a handle there, I want you to shift your attention back into your pelvis. Sometimes here I like to place my hands on my stomach or my hips just to feel if they're rocking and rolling back and forth. And for me personally, this is a very hard position to hold that stable pelvis. I really want to tuck under. Let's do 2. Hoping you're feeling things. Last one here. Lift the heels up high, bend the knees, come all the way home. All right. From here, just take your hands back onto the pegs or maybe the shoulder blocks. I'm going to inch away from the blocks just a little bit, just give myself some space. And then I'm going to bring my legs up into tabletop. So tabletop is just this 90-degree bend, right? And I'm going to think of just gently imprinting my spine, just a gentle, I'm not like jamming the low back in where my tailbone lifts. So find some upper back activation by pulling on the pegs or the shoulder blocks. Legs are going to stay glued together. And then I'm going to send my legs over to the right, allow the left hip to lift, but keep the left shoulder down. And then bring the legs back to center. Legs go over to the left, right hip lifts a little bit, and then come back to center. Now really the focus here is on your upper body because it wants to come with the legs. It wants to lift up. So the legs are only going as far as those shoulders can stay down. We go inhale over to the left and then exhale to center. Inhale over to the right, exhale to center. Last one here, over to the left, and then exhale back to center. Go and place the arches on the foot bar. Back to that hip socket distance apart. Make sure your headrest is down for a little bit of bridging. So arms are back into the mat. Think chest expansion with those arms. So the back of the arms are working, upper back is working. Pull the carriage in first, right? So hold here for just a moment. Feel like you're pulling your seat to your feet. And I'm feeling the back of my legs, my calves even, and then just relax. Let's do that again. Pull the carriage in. Now, can you keep this back of the leg activation? Give me a little tuck of the hips, Maybe the tailbone hovers up off of the mat and pause here, right? Even if the cheeks are still touching the mat, just think of the tailbone hovering. And now keep working that pull of the carriage home. Right now I'm shaking. I don't know about you guys. And then melt those last few vertebrae down, right? It doesn't need to be big. Again, arms pressed down, pull the carriage in, little tuck of the hips, little hover of the tailbone, and pause. Your chest is heavy. Should feel like your pubic bone is curling back to your navel, and then lengthen back down. Holy cannoli, I'm feeling these extra today. Again, press down into those feet, pull the carriage home, and then roll those hips up. Maybe you come up a little bit higher today and just hold, or for this one. But is the carriage in? Like mine just drifted out. And then melt all the way back down. Woo, I think we're gonna do one more here. Again, pull the carriage in, curl the hips under, and then pause here. Wherever your bridge is at, right, find it. And then think of the big toes reaching up and over towards the box. And then you're gonna keep the pelvis stable, rock back on your heels, and then reach the toes up and over. Rock back on your heels, reach the toes up and over. It is tiny, but mighty. Carriage is still in. So the hardest part is when the heels come back, the carriage wants to drift out. Neck is still long. Lots of space in the front of your throat. You have 3, and 2, and 1. Reach the toes up and over, and then melt your spine all the way down. Holy cannoli. All right, so reach back for those pegs or the shoulder blocks. Pull the pegs apart, all right, and then bring the legs back up into that 90 or that, what do you call it? Tabletop, there you go. And then squeeze the legs together. They're gonna stay together, and then straighten the legs up to the ceiling, point those toes up, 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 and then bend the knees. We straighten the legs up, feel that stretch down the back of the legs, and then bend the knees. Again, we straighten the legs up, and then bend the knees, pause here. Feel the shape of your spine right now, whether it's neutral or if there's a little imprint. Don't let it change, and then straighten the legs up. So pelvis does not shift. Much harder that way. Let's do 3 like that. You are still long. Reach the toes up. Anybody else knees creaking here? Last one here. And then bends the knees. Just hug the knees into the chest. All right, so take your hands to your right shin. Extend your left leg out. Press it down into the foot bar if it's comfortable. And just give the right knee a good pull in. And then switch legs. I like to give my hips a little, like almost like they're rolling up off the mat by pressing down into that opposite leg. I think it feels good. And then go ahead and switch. Now keep your right knee pulling in. And of course, if this is not nice on the knee, you can always grab onto the back of the leg. Okay, do what works best for you. So now you're gonna hover that left leg up just a couple inches. And if it's available to you, curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. I'm gonna think of pushing my shin up and into my hands, right? So I'm still pulling, but I'm pushing with the leg. And now I'm gonna keep whatever shape of my spine that I have, and then switch. Other knee comes in, push the shin up and into the hands, and switch. Remember, you can always, always, always have your head down. Notice how my elbows are wide. I'm trying to keep my chest open. I like to think of this move as, right, really full body. Think of squeezing my biceps to pull that knee in. For 3, and 2, and 1. Hug the knees in and just lower back down. From here, however you wish to get up, roll yourself up. And then let's come to, I'm gonna go to 2 medium springs. It's what I like for my arms and straps. If you need something a little bit lighter, do a light, right? A lighter spring, and then the medium. Okay, headrest can come back up. We are done with bridging, if you had it up, of course. Once you're back down, find yourself centered again. So just double check all your dimensions there. And then reach back for your, if you're on the lighter and the medium spring, take your hands into the short loops. If you've got 2 mediums, I'm gonna go hands in the long loops. So pull into a little bit of spring tension to where your hands are over your shoulders. Wrap the fists around, right? So feel this strong punch out through your fists, the broadening of the collarbone and the shoulder blades kind of pulling apart. Find your natural neutral. Bring your legs up into that tabletop and pause here. Legs are squeezing together, so inner thighs are active. And make sure whatever spine shape you have chosen, it does not change. Lower the arms all the way down and into the mat and pause here. Feel like those upper arm bones could roll into the mat. So chest is open and then float the arms back up. Again, lower the arms down. Find this active reach out through your fists. Think of showing your rings off to that wall, I guess that's across the room. And then float the arms all the way back up. Good. Again, drag the knuckles across and down. Feel the chest roll open and then float the arms back up. So those chest expansion arms that we had for footwork, it's the same, but now we're just working up against some tension. And when you're here with these arms moving, see how still you can keep everything else. So a lot of times with Pilates, it's not what's moving, it's what's staying still. And of course, if your low back starts to bother you here, I want you to imprint your spine. Right? So feel that low back into the mat. Now lower the arms all the way down and pause here. Feel that space between ears and shoulders. Right? So make more if you can. Upper arm bones stay glued to the mat if they're there, and then bend the elbows and straighten the arms. So this move, yes, it's triceps, but it's also about the shoulder girdle stability. So I'm trying not to let my shoulders roll in, and I'm trying to keep the back of my arms glued to the mat. It's so hard. We have 2 and 1. Hold here with straight arms. If you can, curl your head, neck, and shoulders up. If not, you keep your head down, all right? I'm gonna bend my elbows again. Now, as I straighten my arms, I'm gonna straighten my legs out, find my working angle. And then bend the elbows, bend the knees. Again, straighten everything out, hold, and just think of the legs, the arms getting longer, and then bend everything back in. Again, you go out, you hold, 2, 3, and then bend everything back in. I don't know if you can see that shake there. You go all the way out and reach, 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 and then bend everything back in. Last one here. Everything goes out, hold. Dig the knuckles into the mat, and then we're gonna open, close beats. So just open, close the legs. Quick, 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 quick. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring the legs together, bend the knees, bend the elbows, bring everything back in. Take the straps, hang them on your pegs, and now take the feet wide onto the foot bar, drop the knees off to the right, and then look over that left shoulder. Just give yourself a big twist, and then knees come up and over to the other side. You can look to that opposite side of the room. And then bring the legs back to center. Let's go ahead and roll you up. I'm gonna come down to 1 light, 1 medium. So it's a blue and a red for what I'm working with. Foot bar is gonna stay up. And I'm gonna take my long box. I'm gonna set it up on the carriage. So again, make sure this is centered. From here, I'm gonna lie on my stomach. My forehead will be kind of in line with the foot bar. So if you're extra long, right, you might be a little forward because otherwise all of your legs will be hanging off the box. So do what you gotta do here. So forehead is in line with the foot bar. My hands are wide to the ends of the foot bar and my thumbs are with my fingertips. I'm gonna just rest my head down for now and I'm gonna set my lower body up. So hug the legs together, point out through the toes, and think of them reaching so long that those thigh bones try to float up off the box. Now, when they do that, your tailbone stays long, your pubic bone stays pressing down into the mat so we're not arching the back, and just lower the legs down. I'm hoping you felt some back of the legs, maybe some booty activation. Let's do that again. Legs hug together, they reach long, and then they try to float up off the mat. Now, try is the key word here. The thighs are still most likely going to be touching, but just think of them floating up. And then lower back down. Last one here, we float the legs up. Try to find parallel. So think of the thighs almost rolling in, kneecaps pointing down to the floor. Now we press the carriage out, keeping the legs strong. Pause here. Keep pressing the pubic bone down. Your gaze stays down. I know you're probably looking at me at some point. That's okay. And as you bend the elbows wide, the carriage is going to come in, in. Again, you press the carriage out, holds here. Think of your first and second knuckles reaching forward. And now as the elbows bend wide, think of pulling the foot bar apart to broaden the collarbone. Again, we press the carriage out, find that long line, and then bend the elbows wide, come all the way in. Again, we press the carriage out, hold here with straight arms. Legs are gonna stay energized, press down into the palms, and just lift the chest up a little bit. Just see how that feels. So not only is the chest lifting up, but it's reaching forward. And then lengthen as you come all the way down. Once you find your long line, bend the elbows wide, pull the foot bar apart, come all the way home. Again, we press the carriage out. Make sure this is about upper back extension and not just your low back. So you only come up to where you can. Some days it's a lot, some days it's a little. And then lengthen to come all the way down. Let's do that one more time. So press the carriage out. If you are feeling tension in your low back, separate the legs a little bit. Might give you some space, all right? Pubic bone stays weighted. Press down into those arms. Create as much space between ears and shoulders as you possibly can, right? So see how much more lift I got with my legs separated. And then come all the way down. Find your long line. Bend the elbows wide, come all the way home. While you're here, take that light spring off. You're on one medium. I'm gonna come off and I'm gonna drop my foot bar down. I'm hoping also you felt a little back of the legs on that one too. Foot bar is down. I'm gonna come lying down on the box, head towards the back end of my reformer. So you're about mid-chest here. If it's more comfortable to have the girls hanging off, by all means, have the girls hanging off, if you have girls, right? So same activation with the legs. They're reaching long and across the room. I'm gonna take the straps off and grab on just above the buckles. Please, 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 if you want more tension, you choke up. If you want less, you walk your hands back down. So keep your gaze on the headrest to start. Find that broadness across your collarbones. Arms stay straight. Pull the arms down and back and pause. So just find your long line. Feel that the fists are punching past your hips and then lower the arms all the way down. Again, drag the arms down and back. You're holding 2, 3, and then lower the arms down. You're probably doing better than me. I'm trying to get those arms to my hips, but they are just not cooperating today. And then lower everything back down. Good. Again, pull the arms down and back and pause here. Your pubic bone is still heavy. Can you lift your chest up just a little bit? And then lengthen back down. Lower the arms all the way down. Good. Last one here. Pull the arms down and back. Find your long line. So no extension here. Bend the elbows and straighten the arms. So we did this on our back. So can you find that same shoulder girdle stability here? Think of those upper arm bones now lifting up to the ceiling. And lots of space between shoulders and ears. We have 2. And 1, arms go straight, lower them all the way down. Just let the head fall into the well for a moment. Maybe shake out the legs. Hang up your straps. We are going to do our pull straps too without tension today. You will still feel it. So once again, find your legs hugging together. Again, low back bothering you, feel free to separate the legs. Find your long line, right? So head is in line with the rest of my body. Arms go out to the sides like a letter T. My palms are facing down. So I'm thinking of lifting the arms up higher than my chest. So typically here, right, we have to lower the chest down a little bit, right? And just hold. Create as much space in your upper back as you possibly can, still keeping the energy into your legs, and then just lower everything down. That was work just in itself. Let's do that again. Find that leg position, lift everything up and hold. Create all that space in your upper back. And then from here, think of leading with your pinkies. Pull the arms wide and back towards your hips and hold. You can find a little extension by lifting the chest up and reaching the heart forward. And then lower the chest down and arms go back out to the sides. You pause. Just hold. Arms are razor straight. So are the legs. Again, lead with the pinkies. Pull the arms wide and back. Roll the chest open. Reach those fingertips to your toes. And then lower the chest. Arms come back out. We have one more. It's hard. This is hard stuff. Being on your stomach, pull the arms wide and back and hold. Create as much space just in your body, in your spine. Arms go out to the side, chest lowers down, and then lower the arms, lower the head. Just let everything kind of hang heavy. All right, let's go ahead and come off. And now we're gonna change it to a short box. So I'm gonna add a spring on, just so the carriage isn't all over the place. And then I'm gonna change this to a short box. So box just goes in front of your shoulder blocks. For today, sometimes it goes over the blocks. And I'm gonna grab that safety strap. That's at the end of your reformer, or the front. I'm gonna move my glasses, I got a little foggy. So hook your feet underneath the safety strap, and the strap is on the ankle crease, not the tops of the feet, okay? You're gonna keep your feet flexed, and my feet are up against that platform or the end of the reformer right now, and I'm gonna think of pushing my feet in, but not so the carriage goes out, right? So just think of driving the heels into that base. Take your hands across your stomach. You're gonna sit up so tall right now. And then you're gonna round up and over your forearms and think of pulling your belly away from your forearms. And then just stack your spine back up. We'll do that one more time. Think of rounding up and over your forearms, go up and over, up and over. And then stack your spine back up. I lie, we're doing another one. Go up and over. So find this rounded, lifted shape of your spine, and you're gonna take this shape and then just rock yourself back. Keep driving the heels away. You roll back. Just find that working angle meaning I'm shaking right now. And then roll yourself all the way up, up, up. Again, push the heels away, roll back, round back, and then come all the way up. Now pause here at the top. Pull that strap apart. So pull the feet apart so they're even more energized. This time as we go back, don't let the legs move. All right, roll back, roll back. So much harder. Don't let the knees come with you like mine are doing. And then come all the way up. We have one more here. Feel the pelvis pull away from the thighs, energy out through those heels, and then come all the way up. Let's go ahead and stack your spine up tall. Let's take your hands on top of your head. So interlace the webbing of your fingers, hands come on top of your head. I'm gonna sit up so uncomfortably tall. I'm gonna think of pushing my head up and into my hands. My elbows are pushing wide and back. And now I'm just gonna side bend over to the left, and then stack my spine up tall. Keep lifting up and into those hands as you go over to the right, and then stack it back up. You still have that tightness in the straps, or in the strap, and then come all the way up. Again, over to the right, and then back to center. One more time each side. Keep both hips glued, and then back up. Last one here, think of bending at that bra line, and then come all the way up. Keep your hands here. Can you sit up a little bit taller? And now we twist. Let's go to the left. We lift, 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 come back through center. We lift and twist to the right. And then back to center. One more time each side. We lift, 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 and then back through center. So always think of growing tall in everything, and then back to center. Keep the hands here, all right? Once again, you grow taller up into your hands. Keep the back flat, and now just lean back. Lean back, lean back, and then come all the way up. Those legs are so at the party right now. They are helping big time. You lean back, lean back, lean back, and then come all the way up. Remember, the hands are not pushing you down. You are lifting up into the hands. You lean back, and then come all the way up. Let's do 2 more. Inhale as you go back, and then exhale up. Last one here. Inhale as you go back, and then exhale up. Beautiful. All right, so now let's turn to the left, or I will turn to the left. You can turn and face me. I'm gonna keep my right foot hooked under the strap. So the leg that's up here on the reformer, it can be either hanging, it can be up here, it's whatever's comfortable for you. I'm gonna take that left hand, the hip, the side that I'm on, hand goes onto the headrest. I'm gonna lift that right leg up and into the strap here. So it stays taut, I'm not going anywhere. From here, my top hand goes behind my head. I'm gonna feel my head push back and into the hand so my chest is open. That top elbow pushes back. From here, my bottom elbow, it bends to lower myself down. And I'm gonna feel this lovely stretch on my top side, and then just press yourself back up. You only go out to where you can control it, right? And then back up. A couple more times here. Think of that top leg growing longer. So big push out through that heel, and then come all the way up. Last one here with this assist. Reach the crown of the head away, and come all the way up. Now pause here. Think of growing longer, holding that long line. Can you take that bottom hand, take it up to the head, and then back down? You take it up to the head and back down. 2 more. Up to the head and back down. Up to the head and back down. Now we take a big twist. So my hands come to the frame of the carriage, if that's available to you. If not, right, you just find what you can and let yourself fall into the well. Depending on your equipment, right, you can even grab onto the bottom part and kind of pull yourself. It's a lovely twist of a stretch. And then carefully unpretzel yourself. Come back up, and let's do the same thing on the other side. So top foot, pull it up and into the strap. Bottom hand comes onto the headrest. Try to square yourself off as best you can. So a lot of times hips want to roll back. Stack those hips up. Top hand behind the head. Upper back is engaged, pushing your head back and into your hands. You bend that bottom elbow, big stretch. And then come back up. I like an inhale as I go down. And then an exhale up. You do what works best for you. As long as you're breathing. And then up. We have 1 more. And then up. Now hold here, find your long line. Even if you can't lift your hand off of the headrest, just think of getting light on the hand. We take it up and down. We take it up and down, up, long neck, and down, up and down. And now we find that twisty, lovely stretch. Highly recommend big deep breaths here. So breathe into the ribs, breathe into the armpits, let the head be heavy. And then carefully unpretzel yourself. And then let's take the box away. So box is gonna go away. Your headrest is going to come up, and the foot bar will come up as well. 2 medium springs. So for me, I have 2 red springs on. Foot bar comes back up into that middle rung, or right your footwork position there. I'm gonna carefully step up onto the reformer, hands come onto the foot bar. So when I'm here, right, my flexible people, the feet can go all the way back. I am not a flexible person, so I'm gonna step my feet a little bit forward. My feet are about hip socket-ish distance apart. I'm gonna let my head drop and round my spine. So I want everybody to find some type of stretch here. So think of my fist being at your abdomen. Lift your belly up away from my fist. And now think of pulling that foot bar apart so the crown of the head is reaching away and the shoulders kind of slide down or up the back, depending on how you look at it. And just hold here for a second. Try to limit the fidgeting like I'm doing. And then legs are gonna stay straight, upper body stays stable. Just press the carriage back a little bit and then pull the carriage in. So a lot of times here, the upper body wants to move. It's active, but it's not moving. Some teachers will teach this with toes up. I teach it in the beginning with toes down. And remember, my fist is still at your abdomen, and you're still trying to pull up and away from my fist. And you're just holding the shape of your spine as you do this. This is your elephant. I think it feels magical. Last one here. And then come all the way in. That's it for standing on the carriage today. Now I want you to place a light spring on. So you have, actually, we'll do 2 mediums today. Stay on your 2 mediums. You're gonna have a seat on your reformer, sitting uncomfortably close. My hands are gonna go onto this front edge here of the mat, and then I'm gonna place my toes up onto the foot bar. So for me, I can already see I need to scoot back just a hair. All 10 toes are on. You pick either parallel or Pilates V. Try both. So I'm gonna think of rounding up and over, right? I'm pulling with my arms, but I'm also pulling back with my stomach. I'm getting an amazing stretch in my upper back, my traps, my low back. And then from here, just press the carriage out and hold. Continue to work the lift, the pulling of the belly back, and then just bend the knees, come all the way home. Again, you press the carriage out and then pull the carriage in. So elbows are kind of pulling wide, right? Just like that single leg stretch, and then pull the carriage in. One more like this, and then come all the way in. I lie, it's kind of 1.5. I do that a lot. A lot of Pilates teachers do. So press the carriage out. Now take your hands behind you. So you can either be here on the shoulder blocks, here into the mat. I don't care where your palms are facing. I want you to find what works best for you. Every day is different, right? So now think of sitting up super tall. So now our back is flat. Elbows can bend to really open up the chest. Now we're gonna lower the heels down and then lift the heels. Keep the heels lifted, keep that strong flat back, and then bend the knees, come all the way in, and then press the carriage out. We hold here, we get taller as we lower the heels. We lift the heels, and then bend to the knees, come all the way in. Press the carriage out, we lower, big stretch, we lift, and then come all the way in. Last one here. I'm hoping you're getting a stretch across the chest, stretch in the back of the legs. Come all the way in. Now hold on the in. Reach the arms out in front of you. Think of them pressing down into something to get taller. Heels, try to keep them high and just press the carriage out, hold here. I am pushing my feet into the foot bar, but I'm trying to lean forward with a flat back, right? Tight people, I know this is tough. Bend the knees, come all the way home. Press the carriage out, you get taller. And you're gonna continue to get taller as you come all the way in, in, in. Again, you press the carriage out and then come all the way in. We press it out, we hold. We lift as we twist, lift, lift, lift. And then come back to center, carriage comes home. We lift and twist to the right or whatever direction you didn't do. I'm thinking of that opening of the wingspan and then coming all the way home. So remember when we were lying on our stomach, right? That reaching of the fingertips across the room, same thing here. You come all the way home. Again, we press the carriage out. Find that space in your upper back and come all the way home. One more each side. Whew, we get taller. Now when you're here, double check your feet. They're not like this, or not like this. They're even. Both legs are straight. And then come all the way home. We press it out, we lift, lift, lift. Come all the way home. Take your hands onto the foot bar. Whew. And then if you can, straighten your legs. You straighten your legs. Otherwise, you'll probably look more like me. Sometimes I like to do this kind of rolling, this pressing of the carriage out and in. Right? Sometimes I'd like to just hang out here. Some people do like a little prance, one heel under, other heel under. I like to encourage you guys to find what your body needs, because what I need is going to be different than what you need. All right. So we're gonna stay on these 2 medium springs. I'm gonna lower my headrest down unless you prefer it up. I'm gonna lie on my back. Feet go onto the foot bar. I'm gonna press the carriage out. I'm gonna reach back for my right, we'll go long strap. Right long strap, right foot comes into the long strap. I'm gonna hold tight with that right leg, reach back for my left strap. All right, so feet are going into the straps, and now I'm here. Make sure you're centered, that the hips haven't shifted over to the right and to the left. Bring the knees into the chest, all right? So find a point out through the toes, heels are hugging together, tailbone is heavy, and just press the legs out, hold here. So when they're out, our spine is stable. I'm hoping that you're holding more of a neutral position, but please, if you need to, find more of an imprint with that low back into the mat. Keep that spine stable, bend the knees all the way in or in towards your shoulders, and then press the legs out. I say all the way in, right? But you're bringing them in to where you can keep that tailbone heavy, and then press the legs out. And the reason I have you pointing out through the toes is eventually you'll start to feel the back of the legs as you pull the heels in. And this should simulate footwork, right? We did it at the beginning. Now press the legs out and hold here. You're still in that little Pilates V. Think of those upper arm bones trying to connect to the mat. The base of the ribs are softening down. Can you get the legs longer? And now we're gonna draw little circles with those legs. So when you're here, the carriage barely moves. And that comes from making your legs longer. If you haven't noticed, there's a theme in Pilates. It's all about length. We have 3 and 2 and 1. You hold, we reverse. So for me, and maybe it's because my hips feel very tight today, I'm feeling this big time in my hips, my thighs, my stomach a little bit from trying to hold my spine stable. We have 3 and 2 and 1. Let's find parallel. You're gonna open the legs out wide to the sides. They're gonna circle around, come back up to the top, and then lower the legs down. So we're starting with parallel here, but allow them to naturally rotate as they go out to the sides of the room. They meet together at the top, and then they lower down. Now I know this feels amazing to make these like big exaggerated circles, but once again, how stable can you keep your spine while doing this? So if you're feeling that the low back is into the mat, out of the mat, into the mat again, right? Maybe we've gone too far. So find a range where you can hold that stable pelvis. Pause at the top and we reverse. Your neck is long, arms are steady reaching into the mat. And I'm hoping this feels good. And you're of course breathing. Last one here. Float the legs up, bend the knees into the chest, take the straps out however you wish. Go ahead and hang them up. Let's bring you up. Headrest comes back up, and now we're gonna come kneeling on the carriage. So feet go up against the shoulder blocks. So I like to walk those feet back because I want as much of the bottom of my foot up against the shoulder blocks as we possibly can. All right, so big time foot connection. Hand comes onto the foot bar, shoulder width distance apart. So I'm gonna round my spine and think of pulling that pubic bone to the navel. I'm gonna find that little bit of a pulling apart on the foot bar. So hopefully you feel maybe some shoulders, some arms kick on when you do that. You're gonna keep the rounded shape of your spine and just press the carriage back just a little bit and then pull the carriage in. So notice I'm not going all the way out here, right? It's just here and here. So this move, some teachers might call it a scooter. They're knee stretches, but it's also the same move that you did earlier when you had your legs straight. Drive back through those heels and keep working the lift of the belly into the back. I don't know about you, but I'm already feeling a little bit of thighs here. We've got 3 and 2, and 1. Bring the carriage in. Now I'm gonna find either a flat back or like an arched back. So please, if it feels just uncomfortable, find more of a flat back. I'm gonna find more arched today. So booty sticking out, my chest is reaching forward, and I'm still keeping my length. From here, you press the carriage back and then pull it in. So once again, what's not moving is your upper body. It's working, but it's not moving. So my legs right now are kind of challenging the rest of the body. And imagine you've got like a squishy ball between your thighs. So there's a little hug in there. And maybe you can pick up the pace for these last few. Pull apart on that foot bar, lots of space between ears and shoulders. We have 2 and 1. Beautiful, bring it all the way in. All right, so this next one, very challenging. Do what you can, okay? Do as I say, not as I do, because mine I know is not gonna look perfect today, all right? So round your spine, all right? Remember, my fist is at your abdomen. From here, all right, if you've got to shift forward, you do so. Can you float the knees up, press the carriage back, and pull it in? Press the carriage back and pull it in. I'm gonna try to shift my hips back to work into that rounded shape. Now, if you're like, girl, no, bring the knees back down. Do another rounded set with the knees down. For 2 and 1, bring it in, lower down. I'm gonna come back to my footwork springs. So I have 2 medium and a heavy on. If you had something different, please do that. Do those footwork springs. Headrest comes back down. Lie back on your carriage. Center yourself. All 10 toes are on, hip socket distance apart. Press the carriage out, find that long line. Hold that natural neutral. Lower your right heel under as your left knee bends. And then lift back up into high heels. Left heel lowers, right knee bends. And as you switch, start to control that breathing, or start to kind of slow it down. And for running, or prancing, as some people call it, I like to place my hands on my hips and just see how stable is my pelvis while my legs and my feet are moving. And then if you feel like I got a handle on this, lady, my pelvis is stable, maybe you pick up the pace with your feet and just see where that challenge point is at for you. Your waistline is still long. If the arms are into the mat, they're actively pressing down. We have 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Lift the heels up high, bend the knees, come all the way home. Now we're gonna come onto the base of the arches. And I'm gonna take my feet wide, like 80s shoulder pads, kind of wide, right? So a little bit of a turnout. Again, arms are anchored down into the mat. From here, I'm gonna curl my hips under. Find that little pelvic lift. So feel like the ribs are down, but my tailbone is hovering. From here, I press the carriage out and then pull the carriage in. You press it out, think pubic bone up to the sky, big front of the hips opening, and then pull the carriage in. You press it out, and this time as you pull in, think of hugging in on the foot bar. So knees still stay pointing out, but just think of the inner thighs activating a little bit more. Very handsy today. And for this move, I'm hoping you're feeling some butt cheeks, maybe some back of the legs. If you're tight in the front of the hips, maybe you feel opening there. Arms from pressing down. Let's do 2. And 1. Get longer as you come all the way in. And then keep pulling your seat to your feet as you melt all the way down. Keep your feet wide, or just keep them where they're at for now. Now take your right ankle over your left knee. Hands go onto the shoulder blocks of the pegs, and then just carefully drop the legs to the right. And just enjoy this twist. And then come back to center. Right foot comes down, left ankle over the knee, only if this feels good, right? Obviously, if it bothers the knee, please, please, please don't do it. You can go back to that same twist that we did in the beginning. And then come back to center, and you are done